But yeah, it might have been a slightly mistimed challenge. But you'll notice that when Sanderson is getting near to Smallbone, he's actually starting to rotate and turn. So clearly, he hasn't got that forward momentum. So therefore, there can't be any intention there, and therefore, it can't be a red card. It just can't be a red card. I've looked at it so many different ways.
So welcome back to Small Heath Alliance FC, and on Saturday, Birmingham City lost 4-3 to Southampton at St.Andrews at Knighthead Park to a 90 plus 6 minute winner, and it really was a difficult one to take for us Blues fans. But it wasn't a game without entertainment. We had 7 goals, we had a red card, the woodwork was hit 3 or 4 times, and we're going to get into all those talking points now. So Dad, what are your thoughts on the game on Saturday?
So, like all Blues fans, it was a tough one to take. To concede a goal in the 96th minute. I mean, I'll come on to the fact that I don't know how the referee had 9 minutes of stoppage time and didn't seem to be anywhere near that. I'll come on to that a little bit later in the podcast. But a real choker. Also the fact that we played 30 minutes with 10 players and we were 3-2 down the point we lost Dion Sanderson, who was sent off. We still managed to pull back an equaliser. And to concede that way, to be honest, was a real choker. And also, as well, as we talked about in the last game, because of the results around us as well, it almost seemed to make it even worse. But we've got to remember that we were playing Southampton. Yeah. So when we were doing the preview video, we discussed the fact that Southampton are always, have high levels of possession. In fact, the highest in the whole of the Championship. And we expected that. So we know that they're a good side and we know that they zip the ball around and ping it around. So really to score 3 goals against them in the first place and to lose in that way was a real choker.
Yeah. 2 of those goals were fantastic as well. Miyashi's finish and Stansfield's finish in particular, they were 2 cracking goals, weren't they? When that Miyashi goal went in after 3 minutes or whatever it was, maybe 2 or 3 minutes, the stadium erupted, didn't it? It really got the crowd sort of fired up at that beginning there. But for me, I think on this podcast, me and you are a glass half full. I think we try and be optimistic where we can. We try and be positive.
Yeah.
And there's 2 things we don't like to do. We don't like to talk negatively about the club that we love, and we don't really like to talk negatively about the officials because we agree on this, don't we? If there's no officials, there's no football.
Exactly.
However, it needs calling out for this game, I think. I think the officiating was really bad. Not just the referee. I think the assistant referees were very poor as well. And there's no doubt about it. If we had 11 men on the pitch for the entirety of the game, that would have been a different result, I believe. And I've watched that red card back about 15, 20 times, and I cannot see how or why that was a red card. It was a yellow. It was a body block. It was in the middle of the pitch. He had 3 players behind him. It wasn't as if Sanderson was the last man. The only logical thing I can think of is from the referee's perspective and angle, when Sanderson went in, his front foot lingered a little bit too longer in the air, so possibly it looked more dangerous than it was. But however, as I said, I've looked at it back personally 15, 20 times, and I don't see how or why that was a red.
Sorry, Karen.
No, and I was just going to say about the consistency, because how many times do me and you stand at the game and we go, where's the consistency in the reffing?
Yeah.
And 10 minutes after that, Bakuna got body checked and it was a yellow card. And in the first half, Miyashi pulled one of their players back. Fair enough, justifiable yellow card. It happens 5 minutes later to our team and it wasn't even a foul. It's just the consistency where it was absolutely shocking. But that was the worst refereeing I've seen down St Andrews for a good amount of years.
Oh, that's a stretch to say that because we've seen some pretty poor referee. But that decision for Sanderson was appalling.
But the first goal was offside as well. I think that assistant ref on our side, his arm was broken because I didn't see him put his flag on very much. And there was a couple of times where the ref was looking for his guidance and he didn't do anything. It was a really odd game to look at from a refereeing point of view.
Obviously we sit in the Tilton, so the Sanderson incident was at the other end of the pitch, so it's hard to see. So I'm like you. I went away and I studied it and looked at it and replayed it over and over again. And I can't see how that's a red card. I mean, so when you look at what happened, Sanderson is clearly trying to sort of tackle for the ball. So Smallbone and him are coming in, to compete for the ball. But yeah, it might have been a slightly mistimed challenge. But you'll notice that when Sanderson is getting near to Smallbone, he's actually starting to rotate and turn. So clearly, he hasn't got that forward momentum. So therefore, there can't be any intention there. And therefore, it can't be a red card. It just can't be a red card. I've looked at it so many different ways. I know that Russell Martin was told. He said he said in his post-match press conference that he didn't see it himself, but he was advised by his staff that it was a red. But then they would say that.
Yeah,
but But clearly, I looked at some of the commentary on Sky Sports as well. And I think it was Sue. I can't remember her surname. The pundit. She was saying that at most that's a yellow, and they watch it over and over again. And that I agree has cost us the game because we went and equalised at when we were down to 10 men. And if we would have had 11 men on the pitch, which would have been one of our main defenders, which would have been Sanderson, I don't think that final goal would have gone in because it came from a corner, their winning goal. And I think really that is one of the main factors that cost us the game. I say main factors because I think there's certain things in our play that possibly contributed to that. I mean, only in as much I'm not criticising the team because I think that the work rate of our team was absolutely fabulous. Everybody put a shift in, so you can't criticise our team. The effort was there. It's just that we knew that Southampton would ping the ball around, which they did, and I just felt sometimes that they were just passing the ball around us too easily.
Yeah.
For the effort, it was almost as if sometimes we weren't even there. We saw a couple of chances they had where in the Tilton goal, which is where literally it's just like pinball around us, and our players are trying to get to the ball, but they're just not even touching it. That disappointed me a little bit.
I mean, just a note on Southampton. I think if we're going to just talk about them in the context of the top four, so if we're going to take Leicester, Leeds, Ipswich, and Southampton, I think they're by far the worst at the back in terms of conceding goals. They leak goals, but actually going forward, they're really fast, one-touch, quite impressive football, and they caused us a bit of problems during spells during that game. But we didn't do ourselves any favours. I think our centre halves, their positioning of Sanderson and Iwood during that game was shocking. They were in no man's land for half that game. They were floating off into the middle of the park. They were doing really odd. As I say, the positioning was really strange. I mean, Iwood did do well for the first goal because his press initially got us the ball back.
I mean, to be fair to him, I thought he had a decent game actually in total.
I think he put in some pretty big challenges, and so did Buchanan. But I think Iwood, for me, overall, was his positioning just let him down, and Sanderson as well. The term that comes to mind to me is no man's land. They were just caught in different sections of the pitch. I don't know where it's coming from, but to me, Sanderson and Iwood looked completely lost during that game. And as I say, Buchanan put in some big challenges. I thought Laird had an okay game, so you can't blame the entirety of the defence. But for me, the core spine of that defensive of the defence was poor. And I think that
maybe I just think that playing a team like Southampton that zip the ball around quickly, I think you are going to be chasing the ball a lot, and I think that happened with Ayew a little bit because his natural instinct is to go to the ball and to also go forward. So, but defensively, I thought he was actually okay. It was interesting starting lineup. He put Drama back on the bench and brought in Buchanan, which if you look at the preview video, I suggested that'd be a good suggestion to provide a more naturally left-footed player on that side because obviously we've been having problems over there as well. Mark Roberts was injured. So we've been told that that's only a slight calf strain. He might be available for Hull. And Bielek, who was on the bench in the previous game, I think it's a stomach muscle, so he's out for a couple of weeks.
I believe it's 2 weeks for Bielek.
Yeah, and Tyler Roberts was back on the bench, so he brought in Ayew, Buchanan, and Bakuna started as well. We also had Hall, Pritchard, and Hogan back on the bench again. So the team selection was I think imposed really by the injuries in the centre halves.
Yeah, and I'm not going to look back on decisions retrospectively, but I think getting rid of Kevin Long was a big mistake, and the timing of that was a big mistake, in my personal opinion. Because if you think about the centre halves at the moment, that is definitely our weak link. That's where we're going to concede goals. Because going forward, we scored 3 goals. Stansfield had a really good game. I thought Bakuna, apart from not tracking back again for one of their goals, he had a good game as well. So attacking, we looked okay. But the back, I mean, just to play centre half, we've got Mark Roberts, Dion Sanderson, Bielek, Ayew, and Buchanan and Drama can fit in there as well. So it's really interesting what Mark Venus is going to do with that centre half position moving forward, because obviously we've got a few injuries. Sanderson's now serving a suspension, so it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, maybe Buchanan or Drama's going to fill in that centre half space. I mean, who knows? Hopefully Mark Roberts comes back.
Well, I hope the club appeal that red card because if they do appeal it and successful, it means that Sanderson won't be missing from those games. But the
odds are it won't. Nothing. Just from the history of the way the EFL work.
That's what worries me. It's okay saying appeal it, and we see what we see, but of course they tend to sort of back up the referees. I agree with you. I think I look at Stansfield. And I think, firstly, he's literally a fantastic goal scorer, and he rips the net open with these goals. But
his work ethic as well.
But that's what really impressed me. That's what I was coming to. The way he was closing down. I think he was getting frustrated as well because he was closing down and chasing around, and he was actually asking players to come forward to make the press, which was more difficult when we were down to 10 men. But he did. The only thing as well I would say as well, I'm not sure I'm convinced about this always bringing off Paik and Dazal together. They always get substituted in the 66th to 70th minute. I don't think that's a great idea. I think just because you've got 5 subs to use doesn't mean say you have to use them all. And if we've got they're doing a decent job in midfield, then my suggestion would be then we'll leave them on. Don't swap players around them.
That begs the bigger question: why is he doing that? Are they unfit? Are they lacking that bit of match practice? Again, why is he subbing them both at the same time? Because he took them both off at Ipswich, he's took them both off at Southampton, and both times he's done it, it has changed the game.
Yeah.
Because Dazal and Paik, they make us so much more front-footed. I understand it more against Southampton than I did against Ipswich because we were down to 10 men, and I think logically he wanted Sunjic on the pitch to chase the ball down and put a little bit of pressure on Southampton. In hindsight, I think that was actually a mistake. Sunjic made us a bit more vulnerable because he creates more gaps for Southampton to penetrate in. So
at the point that he made those double substitutions with Paik and Dazal going off, we were 3-2 down. But they're forward players, so actually you'd need a goal.
Mm-hmm.
So and Sunjic, I agree with you. Sunjic is one of those that will sort of chase around, break up play, etc. But I didn't understand at that point. And I'm not criticising Mark Venus. I'm not, because I think he's got to try and get the team as he sees it and how he sees the game. And clearly he's more experienced and sees the game a bit different to us.
Yeah.
But Southampton, I don't know if you agree with these statistics. I looked on Sky Sports at the app, and apparently Southampton 78% possession in that match.
Wow.
Yeah, that seemed high to me. I mean, we were obviously at the game. It didn't seem that. I know they had more possession, but not that much. I mean,
that must have really ranked up when Sanderson went off. It must have, because there's no way the game that we watched had 78%.
Well, we was under the cosh. I think we scored our goal. Miyoshi scored our goal early on, and I think that for a lot of the first half, they did have a lot of possession because they were pressing. They had a lot of good chances and didn't take them. Then they got their equaliser. I think it was around about 16th, 18th minute, which is Adam Armstrong, who always. I think we're the team that he scored the most against.
He was offside. He looked offside.
Was
to
he?
me.
I don't know.
He looked offside to me.
He looked offside from where I was, but everything I've read, no one's made a big thing of that.
Yeah, it's not just sour grapes, because I looked at the Ipswich goal when they scored it, and I was like, that looks offside. But on second look, it wasn't offside. The Ipswich goal, the first one that they scored. But when I looked at the Armstrong goal live, I was like, he looked offside. And I have looked at certain screenshots, and he's definitely half. It looks to me about half a yard offside. But but what's even more disappointing than that is the Lino's 2 players back. So how can he even flag that decision when he's not keeping up with the play?
I don't understand why the linos sometimes don't give the referees the support they need. Because if the linos looking to the ref and the ref is looking at the lino, that means that the assistant referee, actually, as they're called now, they're putting the onus on the referee to make the decision. But they're in the line, so the referee can't make that decision. It's really difficult. Yeah. But I would say, that, I mean, obviously, again, it was the results that went around us were against us again. But I would say to Birmingham City supporters, I know at the moment it seems like we are we are sucked in. We're sort of level with third bottom now on 38 points, but there's still a lot of games to play. We've got 12 games left, and actually we have got a game in hand on all the teams around us. If we win that game in hand, we would be 16th. But still, even then, only 3 points above the. And you only have to go to a highest 12th, which is, I think it's Watford. And they got 44 points, so they're only 6 points
Bristol
ahead.
City.
And Bristol City. So actually, there's a whole load of teams in the bunch that we're in that we've all got to play each other, all got to play top teams. So there's a lot to play for.
I think there's no doubt about it. If you look at it from a logical, mathematical point of view, there's a little bit of trouble there. We are joint on points with third bottom. But if you think about it logically, we've just played 2 of the top 4.
Yes.
We didn't get completely played off the park in both those games. We've only just lost to Southampton with a bad red card decision. Ipswich, the game turned on its head with that second goal. And fair enough, we could say this all the way to the end of the season until we get relegated. But I genuinely believe with teams that aren't in the top 4, now we're starting we're going to play teams a little bit lower in the table. I think we're going to start picking up some points. And, as I said at the start, me and you are a glass half full. I think if you do look logically, it is concerning. There's no doubt about it. It is worrying, but I still think we're going to be okay. I really do. And we have to pick up that away form. That's going to be the key to keeping us up in this league. That's really big for me. But just to swing it on its head a little bit, just a few positives for me. I've got a little list here. One, I think the players did leave everything on the pitch.
Yeah, me too.
I think they worked really hard.
Fair play to them.
A majority of them worked really hard. We scored 3 goals.
Yeah.
We quite rarely score We score 3 goals. And as I said, that sort of scrappy, gutsy, determined performance to me was quite impressive.
I think there's lots of positives to take out of it. I mean, you raise a good point there, Matt, in that, we've literally played Ipswich and Southampton in the last 2 games. We've come off the back of obviously beating Sunderland, Blackburn, etc. And just before that, we're playing West Bromwich Albion. So we have had some sort of, fairly tough matches. And in the West Bromwich Albion game, we lost in the 86th or 87th minute. Ipswich, we were 1-1 up until 85 plus minutes till they scored their second one. Southampton, we took them, virtually all the way with having 10 men for a third of the match. So there's loads of positives to come out of it. And also as well, our fixtures as well that we have coming up. Obviously, Hull City's a tough game, which we've got on Tuesday night. But then, all of our home games that are left are against all mid-table teams, and you can say in the Championship that every single team's got something to play for, either to try and get a late run into the playoffs or to stop themselves from getting sucked into that relegation battle. And then our away games, which are going to be the key, as you mentioned, we've got to win those away games.
I've never known a year where half the table could possibly be in a relegation battle. It's insane. What is it? Is it 6 points that separates literally 11th, 12th till second bottom? Pretty much.
12th to 23rd is 6 points. so basically, look at my Sheffield Wednesday on the same points as us now. They've got 38. And then we go all the way up to Watford, who are in 12th, and they got 44. Okay. So all of those teams together are, all in the mix. All of us are there together. So it's not as if, we're cut adrift or anything like that. We're right in the mix. And actually our destiny is in our own hands.
Yeah.
So win those at home games, which is where we are strongest, and start picking some more points up away, and we'll be absolutely fine. Yeah.
But let's brush it off, as we always do in the Blue Spirit. Onwards, we move to Hull on Tuesday, and we're not actually going to be able to get a preview for Hull out. So just our last note before we end the game. I don't know whether you had a chance to think about it. If not, I'm going to put you on the spot. Quick score prediction for Tuesday on against Hull. I'm going to go for 2-2. What are your thoughts for the game against Hull on Tuesday?
We after these results, we need to win this. I'm going to go 2-1 to us.
2-1. Yeah. Very close. 2-1. 2-2.
Yeah. So Hull 1, Birmingham City 2. Because now we're at that business end of the season where we have to, just like like Huddersfield drawing with Leeds, with QPR winning at Leicester. We can't, just because they're a top team, not think we're going to win.
I was thinking of 2-1, but I think with how fragile we are at centre back, I think we are going to concede a few goals. But I'm very optimistic with the fact that we managed to score 3 goals against Southampton. So I think a logical 2-2 for me makes sense.
We'll see.
So you've just heard our thoughts about the game on Saturday, but as we always say on this channel, football is all about opinion, and we'd love to hear from you. Blues fans, Southampton fans, do you think 4-3 was a fair result on the day? What were your thoughts on the red card? Don't forget to like the video and drop us a comment and give us your thoughts. And also in the video description, please check out our new X page and our new Instagram page for all the latest content. But don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss any future content.